Is that the dual cataract or the single cataract?
just the one. But she had, you know, bloods taken and things, today. So yeah, it's she's fine, but she's going to be very tired tonight. Yeah.
All right, that's not a problem.
Well, she was
Okay.
tired. I did take her to the doctors this morning, but she was like going home really to rest. She should
Okay.
have been resting today. So
Okay, look, not a problem. Give her our love anyway.
I
So
will.
I I'm just gonna make sure that if anyone else does turn up, then I do know Ruth is away, and
She might come, she might want to come on. I don't know, but you know, it's not likely, probably.
okay, I've made Richard co-host, so there we go. Right, let's
And
go on
Bill,
to.
Bill's supposed to come back, isn't he?
Yeah, that was odd having him there last Wednesday, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, Bill said he would be here this week as well. All right, never mind. Right, so images. Hang on a minute. Right, good. So as you can see, we've got quite a lot of stuff to go through. And what I'd like to do is mention, there you go, that there. And again, this is that this is that book I mentioned, The Must Farm Pile Dwelling Settlement.
Oh yeah, where's the
And
guy from?
well,
Is that
the
secret?
well, is it a secret? No. Basically, no, actually, I still get okay. Do you know what? I can't say this because you'll think I'm a very corrupt individual. I do get perks of this job. I do get free books.
All right, okay, that's fair enough. That's fair
If
enough.
if I was a top class politician, I'm not. I'd have to declare this, but that's life.
Okay.
Um, there'd be a sense of corruption there, Anne.
Oh, well, we all
So
know it.
yeah, I get free books to review. Now the whole point of using these books to review is that I use them in the classes. So obviously
Mm,
people are aware of the books, and if they want to go out and buy the books, then that's fine. I will
right.
also be doing a review of this book in the next edition of Illicit Pillar. Now, that's another thing. Illicit Pillar is gonna have a lot of other content now as well because well obviously there'll be stuff in there about the charity as well, and what that's up to. That'll be new stuff. So just to remind you that those that have had the standing order forms to do with the excavation in West Wales, um, those people who do sign up for that will get the report that we'll be providing every month, but that will not be published in the magazine. It'll just be an overview that we publish in the magazine. It's just to sort of reward them who's actually supporting the project. Anyway, this book Must Farm. So what we're going to do with the Must Farm book is we're going to simply um, do another class on it, and that class itself will be a class that just looks at all the colourful photographs in this book that you just can't see or get on the internet at all. And then if you do want to buy a copy of the book, then let me know, and then we'll see if we can get a reduced copy for you. So the reason again why I want to look at that book, Must Farm, is you've got beautiful illustrations of beautiful objects like this, which and again is one of two books I do believe on Must Farm, and this is the one that's got a load of stuff in it that would be great for you to look at. So actually having a presentation with these images would be great. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And like this as well. And as I was saying, lots of the images that are on the internet about these places um, are, are small and quite sort of mundane compared with what's actually in the publications. And it goes to say as well that so much of what has been published is not on the internet. You can't get it anywhere. Which goes to show that obviously the book and the printed book has more control and power over what's on the internet. So again, you're not going to get this image on the internet, and this is out of the book. So I wanted to do Scatness this week, and I will be doing Scatness Part 2 as well. And the way I did this last night was basically I focused on little bits of some of the buildings within this village, and then I said what we will then do is another bit of a presentation next week, and we will look at more of the finds and more of the information from this wonderful village, this wonderful Iron Age village, which actually's origins go back thousands of years before the Iron Age. And again, that reminder of what I said. Hang on a minute, that'll do. Yep, that makes sense. Little reminder of what I did, what I said last week is when you're talking about the Iron Age in say Orkney and Iron Age in Shetland, it's a different Iron Age timeline than the Iron Age, for example, in Cymru, Wales, or Cumbria, or Londinium, or Devonian, Cornwall. It's where they've got the Roman era from AD 43, right? They still got the Iron Age or the Iron culture, which is more of a nicer way of saying it, in the likes of north eastern Scotland, like Caithness, and the islands on the west coast, in the Hebrides, and the likes of Orkney and Shetland, right? So what we have got is interesting enough. You know I like my little stories, but interesting enough, if we sort of um, go to here, there's our site there, and basically the runway is something like this, right? And and it's when a plane is landing, it's not always that. Oh, hang on a minute, I've stopped the screen. It's not always. Oh, I've got to get my focus a minute. I'm going to get right back to my point. When a plane is landing, because a plane is north of Scatness. Scatness, actually, part of the runway is actually built on part of Scatness, right? To actually get to Scatness, you need to drive across the runway, right? And occasionally, when you're driving across the runway, there are planes landing, right? That's the way they do things on Shetland. And I love Shetland to bits, but when they said it took 40 minutes to fly from Orkney to Shetland, and we were on the plane for an hour and 40 minutes. Um, the whole hour was then as we landed, they turned around and said, actually, we were planning to crash land the plane in the sea off the runway, um, because the landing gear wasn't coming down. So they had to send the co-pilot into the hold, right, to activate the landing gear on the wheels for the plane, right? He had to crank them down, and that took ages, right? And yeah, I'm not to put you off going to Shetland, but beware, it's very exciting stuff. So what we've got on this headland, this is the lower part of um, a Shetland, and if we look at it this way, that's the lower part of Shetland, the lowest part, and Old Scatness is pretty low down there in the Shetland archipelago. Now, this arrangement of archaeology for me is really interesting because I've actually been there. I know the site. I and the bit of the site that I looked at was actually in detail was this building, right? Oh, and actually, I forgot. I promised them next week that we're gonna look at my part of my dissertation, which looks at these two built, which is to do with um, these two buildings, and basically it talks about how the building worked, right? Hopefully, I can put that over properly. Not sure how that's going to work, but again, this is a very complex site, very complex set of archaeology, and it's it's an area of the world where it's a world of stone, and it's a world of stone that, you know, it's easy to make mistakes. And last night, I I asked one of them a question, and it was a very important question. And then we go off on a little tangent, right? But we're not going to go there yet. And the person I'm going to talk over that with will actually be um, Richard for once. But thinking about this landscape and the site that we've looked at, obviously Old Scatness, it's smack bang in an area of farmland, which is great. Obviously, further up the island and so on, and lots of the outlying islands are not really arable, but you've got specific farmland at Scatness and that wonderful site at Giles Hoff, which is there on the right there. The site of Giles Hoff itself is a beautiful site of chronological archaeology. So you've got early Neolithic stuff, Bronze Age stuff, you've got the Iron Age stuff from the Broch, and then you've got the Pictish, the Viking, and later stuff at Giles Hoff. It's a beautiful site, right? But the site that we're interested in today is Old Scatness. And obviously, again, you've got the lighter green, which is rough grazing, and there that brown area, sort of off peach area, if you know what I mean. Sort of, it's not the best of the best, right? So when they were looking at the site initially in the likes of 1975, which is the year of my birth. Now, 1975 is a time that this site could have just been bulldozed and destroyed forever. It was not bulldozed and destroyed forever. It was kept and cherished and loved because years later, in the 1990s, they decided to undertake a full-scale excavation on this site. And when they found this site in 1975, they left this little bit of the wall exposed, which is a wall of the Broch. And again, the Broch itself is the thing that stuck out most. Now, between the 60s and the 70s and early 80s, sites like this were just being destroyed and flattened because of the oil refineries and all the rest of it, and lots of these sites happen to be around the coast, but this was saved and associated with the airport. Now, what I'd like to do, as I said last night, I wanted everybody to get a pen and paper to to draw an outline of the following sketch. And the reason why I wanted you to do that is this plan relates to this chart, right? So if you've got a pen and whatever, just try and get it. But looking at this as well, this plan here. Now, D is the area of the ditch, and C is the area of the part of the village that built up around the Broch, which is J. And then you've got B, which is a later bit of the Iron Age village. And there's areas where the road is there, that dark grey line, and a little bit above that is actually the runway. And basically that area itself is they haven't excavated that, which is great. So the future generations and all that. Now, again, when we think about archaeology like this, it's trying to work out the priorities and the needs of archaeology. And one thing I'm feeling still as an archaeologist, even though I identify as an actor most of the time, right? But still, as a qualified archaeologist, I feel that we're losing reality in regards to our history and archaeology in Britain, particularly Cymru, Wales. And what I mean by the reality, right, is that when you see wonderful heritage sites like Llan Kayak Fawr closing in the next few months, and you're thinking, obviously, that's a massive historical educational resource. And Cosmeston is not in a good way in the Vale of Glamorgan, and you've got the massive housing estate going up there as well. And there has been talk over the years of demolishing the buildings at Cosmeston, and building more housing. And I'm not jesting with you. Um, um, it's more important than ever that we understand our history and the importance of our history and make history relevant to what we're doing today. And it's when we come out of this this silly man-made political situation that we've got, people are going to start seeing heritage and history important, and lots of it is closed and lots of it is gone, and it will be too late. So again, educating and trying to bring this to you is very, very important. Now, what we've got is that if you look there quite clearly, you've got you can't see phase 2 and you can't see phase 1, right? Which we'll discuss in a few moments. But phase 3 is the yellow area, and yes, we do have a photograph of the plough marks, the aard marks, actually in the soils. We actually see that, and that dates all the way back to the likes of the later Neolithic, the Bronze Age, and into the Iron Age. You've got the plough evidence. Amazingly, there it's there, and I'll show you a photograph. It's absolutely fascinating, right? And then what you've then got is the big phase of the structure in the middle, which is actually the broch. And then you've got phase 5, which is the blue area, and you've got yeah, that's right. You've got phase 6, which is the green area, and you've got other phases, which is going to be related to the Pictish phase, and then the Viking phase, and then the late Norse phase, and the post-medieval phase, and a more modern phase as well. So again, I wanted you to sketch this briefly, and you need to be able to scribble on your sketch the blue stuff, which is building 12 and building 8, the Brock building in the middle there, and some of the buildings in the 20s, 21, 20, 23, those type of green ones, and obviously you know where the ditch is. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to that table, and it might be wise to bring a pen and paper with you to my presentations in future, because I'll be marking your work. Now, so what we got with the site is phase 1, and when there's a point to be made here. When archaeologists talk about phases, phase 1 all the way to phase 11, we're not talking about, okay, we woke up in the Neolithic period, and then what we decided to do was we're going to do this, right? And then we woke up in the phase 4, and we decided to build a broch. And that's all it's going to be. We did it on a Wednesday. It's great. No, they didn't do it on Wednesday. The broch probably took, with changes and all the rest of it, hundreds of years to develop. So that was a big, long phase, right, of change, right? Like a modern house, you might block up a doorway, you might block up a window, you might put a new door in, you might have double glazing, you might decide to put stairs in, you might take away stairs, you might Richard always gives me the impression that he's got a that his kitchen leads directly into his garage. I don't think that's completely wrong, but you can imagine you've got a kitchen and you think, right, we'll put a doorway into the garage, right? And those we would say that's a phase, but no, we wouldn't, because we would say that's your house, that's phase 1, right? House was demolished, we put a train station there, that's phase 2, right? That's the way we look at phases. Within phases, there are sub phases and loads of different things going on, right? But it just makes it easier to say Neolithic, Bronze Age, Iron Age, all the rest of it. So this is what we understand with phases. Now, when it says Neolithic for the site of Scatness, you could say that there is a layer of early evidence for human activity. And this is a dark brown buried sediment. And that dark brown berry sediment is likely to be glacial sediment and early stuff, right? And in that glacial and early stuff, what do you find? You actually find bits of quartz, you find bits of pottery, you find other bits of artifactual evidence that relate to the Neolithic period, right? And then what's fascinating about this site is that they don't make enough of this in this publication, from what I can work out, because I read through bits of this quite a few times. I did use this book for my dissertation actually. And phase two, there's evidence in phase two, even though it's not written there, that you've got sand and marine derived. There was a flood. There was a great flood. There was a flood that flooded the lower part of Shetland, right? That's really, really odd, because what is that flood? What's the flood to do with? You know, it's way after the Mesolithic period and the great sort of inundation of the likes of um, the Great Flood of Doggerland 8,000 years ago. We talk about another flood that happened more towards 4.5, maybe 5,000 years ago, somewhere like that. So it was another flood. There was another event that we don't know about. So archaeology can tell us of other things that happen that we don't really know much about. So it's like that link with archaeology and geology, and animals and so on. We do mention animals a little bit today. Yeah, animals do come into it, right? And what we've got there, we've got phase three, phase three. And again, we talk about these phases, and we've got a period when we've got aardmarks. We've got aardmarks, and basically, well, you've got that yellow area there. You've got aardmarks, and within the aardmarks as well, you've got other evidences, little bits of ash and midden waste across the landscape that's been spread. You've got the aardmarks. Maybe I could show you the aardmarks. There you go, aardmarks. And again, this is all associated with change going on within the landscape, within this great piece of archaeology. And and again, this is a site that they excavated for 10 years. It was an excavation that took bloody ages, right? And my supervisor, my lecturer, was actually involved in the excavation here, right? Simon Clark, uh, really nice guy, and he said he was working in the ditch. And I just thought, oh, right, okay. But in the ditch, you've got lots of archaeological evidence. And when we work on the site here, the first thing that those who do support the excavation in West Wales with your standing order, you'll be first to know about what we're finding in that ditch before anybody else. Ditches are really interesting, valuable things. And what we do know here, for example, not like Scatness, but here in the 1980s, the local farmer demolished the 8-meter tall banks and pushed it all into the ditches. So when we're working, we're going to find that all that stuff is in filling the ditches, and we're going to get all a mix of stuff. Lovely that will be. Anyway, back to this site, the Brock itself, structure 9, with all those different phases, steps and cells and so on, all that archaeology. And then what we've got is on, again, I'm going to help us out a little bit. Phase 5 is the blue area there, structure 12, structure 8, the other structures there as well. That's where you've got post-Brock, basically Middle Iron Age. And you've got this Middle Iron Age period, rather interesting, that Middle Iron Age period that we've got for that site. And the site develops into the period beyond the birth of Christ. And we've got really interesting stuff going on there. We've got some really nice dates at the end if I get to them. So quite slow and lethargic today. Maybe I need a gun up my arse, but need to speed on a little bit more. But again, lots of really interesting things going on in that phase. Really nice, gentle, interesting things. And then what we've got the delightful thing where you've got the rest of the site, which is extended. There you go. That sort of phase 6, that green area is extended. There you go. Love it there. And you've got other structures. And do you know what? I haven't been able to work out what that means. Original shell. Phase 6 there. Structure 11, original shell. Right. I'm not really sure what that means. I think it might mean the outline of the building. I'm not sure. But the dates for that are really interesting because it's AD birth of Christ all the way to AD 400, right? And again, that's the Iron Age. It's a later Iron Age for this site. So finding all this fascinating stuff, and then what we then close, do do do. We don't go beyond phase 7 because, that's when the Iron Age is closing, and then we're going into the Pictish period. I just mentioned one really interesting thing. Let's go. All the other stuff there, the Pictish and the Norse stuff, and so on, all the way to the crofting stuff. Um, Interestingly enough, if you ever do get an opportunity to get copies of these books, which are the Broch and the Iron Age Village, Scatness, the Iron Age stuff and the earlier stuff are volume 2, right? And reason why it's volume 2 is because the later stuff is in volume 1, right? Because you've got to work through the later stuff to get to the earlier stuff. So do you see what I was on about earlier on? They'd already were working on that, getting in a publication for volume 1, yeah, and then we get the stuff that we're looking at with volume 2. Ard marks. There they go, lovely ard marks, and that's a meter scale, and you can get an idea. So these are not very deep ards. Now, we do know from the archaeological evidence is that they were using stone plowshare, and they were using stone examples. Not probably not iron actually, because iron would have gone a bit deeper. Would have been a little bit more would have been a little bit more testy on the archaeology. And again, thinking about this and thinking about uh, what the feel is with the archaeology and what we understand is that this is a wonderful piece of evidence. What we don't usually get in archaeology is the evidence of ploughing from the Neolithic Bronze Age, and there it is. They've dug into this really hefty compacted ground, and you've got the little lines, the plough marks there, and so here we go. That may have been 1 year, um, and then what they've got, the ploughing the next year. That may have been another line for the next year, right? And obviously, that's probably for the early stage as well. And the following year we got these marks, and lots going on, lots ploughing going on this area. Maybe it's a bit rough, you know. And one thing what we could clearly see is that they would have had their little boys and girls on the field picking up the stones because it looks quite clear, of debris. So it's really good indication of early evidence of ploughing. Now, one of the things is this when we think about sequencing, when we think about layers, is this. And then I went off a bit of a diatribe last night because Roger was with me last night because actually, strangely enough, I mentioned the Flemingstone excavation, and which I've got over there, which I'm working on, and that leads me to this quickly. Usually in archaeology, what we get, you get the younger stuff. When I say younger, um, depending which way you look at it, the younger stuff is obviously the stuff that isn't very old. And then obviously the later stuff, you've got that at the bottom, right? You could actually put that the other way around. The later period is the modern stuff. So it's very, very confusing. But you know what I'm talking about. The modern stuff is obviously 1900s. And then you've got, here we go. Oh, they use an 18th. Ugh, hate that. You got the 1700s. One weird thing when we're working at the Flemingstone excavation, just next door to the church, was that we were working on when we were traveling away, right? We lifted up the topsoil and we sifted everything, and we come across medieval stuff straight away. And I thought, oh bugger, absolute bugger. You come across medieval stuff. So the building that we were trying to find, which was actually the place or the place of Flemingstone that was being constructed in the late 1500s, 1600s, wasn't there, right? It wasn't there at all because we were finding medieval pottery. And I just thought, there's something not quite right here. And we're all getting excited. They're all finding a bit of medieval pottery, excavating away. really well organized excavation. I was really proud of what we did with the excavation at Flemingston. And when we were, and then suddenly we started coming across modern stuff. And I just thought, oh, what? Hang on a minute. Medieval stuff, which is from the 1300s, which is basically the first layers that we trowel. And underneath that, we got layers from the 1900s. And I thought, I'm in trouble. Right. But then what happened? It was a sequence. So 1900s, 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, bingo. And then we were on to the floor level. Right. These charts don't always work. What happened with Flemingston, for example, it looks like to level out the site, they simply brought in soil from another locality, which was a medieval site, and they used that and spread it across the site, and they leveled it. You know, I could have stopped there and then. It would have been quite a limited excavation, really. It would have been. Now, again, looking at this chart, so obviously this is the site. You've got the chronology of the site on the right-hand side, modern all the way from medieval, Norse, Viking, Middle Iron Age, all the way down, looking at the micromorphology sample of the site. That's a test pit. It's a test pit where there's no bits of building. And we're obviously understanding what we're seeing there, and we're getting that sort of, that's looking at the layers side on, and not from above where we look at the horizontal layers. As I said, I just, there's no way I could have really done all of this site, and there's no way I could have really kicked in with all of this site. But one thing that we do, right, is we look at this area here, right? And the reason why we look at this area here, it's absolutely fascinating, because that had been an entranceway into the Broch once, and then it become blocked up. And Richard, you know, you can probably get a feel for the question I'm going to be asking Richard in a short while. But there's one thing about the thickness of these walls: they're just under 4 meters thick, right? And if you remember that they're just under 4 meters thick, one of the buildings that we're going to look at in Ireland at the end, the walls there are 4 meters thick. These walls are 4 meters thick, but they're not continually 4 meters thick. So what we're thinking with this site, and what we're understanding with this site, is that we've basically got, if we draw there, we've got one skin, we've got another skin, we've got another wall there, and a wall. So those are thick walls, and that's that, right? Now, we went off in a little bit of a tangent there last night, and basically, most of you don't know, I was actually a builder's labourer once, right? So I do actually have some knowledge of the building industry, right? And except I wasn't really good at putting the colorants properly into the cement sometimes. So that was my non-claim to fame. But one thing, when in the late 1990s, we still used to build cavity walls, right? That's all changing now. Basically, industry is going along the way that we have basically frame outside, we have breeze block, and outside we have the insulation. Well, back in the 1990s, we were still using the cavity system, where you'd have breeze blocks internally, you'd have a space, and you'd have brick, and then you'd have what's called, well, most of you know this, but you'd have a tie, metal tie. Every a couple of courses, you'd have these metal ties like little wings, and you'd have a cavity, right? And then it was then instrumental that what we need to do, we need to sort of fill these cavities with foam, right? That was starting to come big in the 2000s, right? So we would either have panels of foam, or we would pump foam into them, right? And then the building industry said, oh, yes, this is not a really good way of doing it, and then we changed things. But modern houses are not strong because of that real reason, right? The reason why I'm mentioning that is that this cavity idea the Iron Age people on Orkney knew about it, right? They knew about it before the Romans. They used this cavity idea in their big structures, right? And these are big cavity wall structures, right? Now this building is 18 meters across from that's 18 from there. Oh, hang on, get rid of that. 18 from there to there, 18 meters across. But the wall, this itself, um, this takes up a big chunk of the area. You've only got 10-meter space inside, and the cavity, right? The cavity inside these block structures is actually it's quite narrow, folks, quite narrow, right? But you know, if you're not big, right? If you're a skin rake like me, you can go up the stairs and go into a gallery, and there's another stairs. You can go up the gallery, go in a gallery, go up the stairs, gallery, stairs, gallery, gallery, keeps going like that. That's what you'll find at the likes of Musa. Again on Musa Island, which is part of the Shetland archipelago. Now, this is, but this is something that the builders didn't continue in their architecture into future generations, which is a bit of a shame because you guys all know that medieval castles are very drafty and very sort of cold places. If they use this Iron Age technology to build castles with, right? Castles would have been warm, nice, pleasant places to live because the cavity deals with um, issues to do with air circulation. It deals with dampness and all those different types of things. It's very advanced technology, but they didn't carry it through. It's a bit like saying, why is it when Roman era civilization collapsed in Britain? Obviously, this is the South now. This is the same metaphor. In the South, for example, we stopped building villas and we stopped building um, decent cambered roads. There weren't many Roman roads in Britain, but there were a few. And we stopped building aqueducts, earthen aqueducts, and we stopped building uh, basilicas, and we stopped building all these stone structures that the Roman era civilizations brought us. Exactly the same with this block technology. They stopped building in this way, which is a shame because if they continued building in that way, it would simply mean that um, Scottish technology in Britain would have been superior to lots of civilized technology anywhere on the planet. They just stopped doing it, which is a shame. Now, again, looking at the site, so what we've got, the bottom part of the site is obviously the north, and the area that we're going to do is the right hand of the screen, right, which is those buildings that I mentioned, those fascinating buildings. But before we do that, we need to look at a little area of this structure, right, which is in fact, over here, right? And that's where we're going to go. That's what we need to do soon. So again, looking down, again, getting a beautiful aerial view. This, this here. Now, this is really interesting, right? And the reason why this is really, really interesting, it basically relates to this area, which is over here. It relates to this area, right? Now, that's there is a question that we need to lead into. Pat's actually just joined us, which is great. Now that there that there is a blocked area. It's blocked, right? Now, we're gonna I'm gonna look at this, and we're gonna try and understand this blocked area, right? Now that blocked this area here. So what we've got as they're excavating, right? They've got this early entranceway, right, which is like that, but the entranceway has been blocked up, right? And the only way to get real access to this area is from the other cells, which are from here, right? But for whatever reasons, they blocked this up. Now, this is a wonderful piece of archaeology, and there's a question that I'm going to ask our Richard, right? Now, the question that we're going to ask our Richard, these are the decisions that archaeologists have to make on a regular basis, right? Now, when they're excavating this site, right, and I'm the answer's already been shown on the screen, right? But should they or should they not, when they're excavating, unblock these? And because these areas were blocked when the building was in use. Now, the question I'm going to ask Richard, is it a good thing as archaeologists to unblock these areas, right? Or should they be left alone? That's a question for you, Richard.
Yeah, I'd leave them alone.
You would leave them alone.
When it's possibly going to cause the structure to collapse or something. Might have been why
Bingo!
they blocked it up.
That is why, yeah, exactly. That is the whole point. This is a wonderful point. This is a wonderful question that we've got to ask in archaeology. Why they blocked up those two areas in antiquity, right? And if we unblock them today, will it change the meaning of the site? Because those blockages there. Hang on a minute. If we look onto the plans of this area, right? These here, right? This here and this here, right? Now, the areas that they blocked, right? By unblocking them, are we losing an idea of what was happening to the site? And do the archaeologists unblock them, or do the archaeologists leave them there? These are challenges that we've got to ask ourselves every single day. Now, I'll give you two questions. Two examples. When Heinrich Schliemann was working at Troy initially in the 1870s, 1876, 1870-ish. Yeah, it was 1870 when he started work there. Then he went to Mycenae, because that links in with the thing from Anne. Then he went back there in 8. Did I say 17? I meant 18. 1870. And then he went back there in 1881 to excavate further at Troy, right? And when Heinrich Schliemann was excavating at Troy initially, to try to get to the Troy that he actually thought that was the actual Troy of Homer's Iliad, he plowed through all the layers of buildings to get to the earlier stuff. And then it turned out that the Troy that he was actually finding, he actually destroyed it in the process. So when he went back with Dolfeld in 1881, Dolfeld said, actually, you've destroyed a bit of the Troy to try to get to Troy, right? Because you destroyed the layers. You should have just left the layers there and tried to excavate in other areas to try and unravel the history without inadvertently destroying the archaeology, right? So archaeology can be very, very destructive. There's an example, archaeologists working in northern Africa. After the Second World War, there was naturally archaeologists who were intrigued by lots of the archaeological remains that they've been fighting in amongst against the Italians and the Americans and the British and the Germans and so on in northern Africa. And they thought, right, we'll go back to some of these places, because lots of the officers who were actually fighting for the British Army and the German Army were actually archaeologists, right? So they thought, all right, when the war's over, we'll go back. So some of them did go back. And there was one example that there was a beautiful Roman temple, right? And the archaeologists thought, right, there's a sign that there's a Greek temple underneath, right? So what they did, they blew up the Roman temple. They actually blew it up. And as they're getting down to the Greek stuff, they suddenly realize that the reason why the Greek temple was built upon in the Roman period was that there was nothing left of the Greek temple, right? And they destroyed the Roman temple to get to the Greek temple. And the answer was the reason why the Roman temple's there is because there was nothing left of the Greek temple in the first place. So why did they destroy it? So these are types of dichotomies and things that we've got to think of when we're looking at archaeology, trying to understand archaeology and how archaeology is working. Now, what I'd like to do now is we're just flowing through these images and I'll just take us back. We're going to be looking at these images, right? There's lots to be said about these images, and lots of little aspects that will lead us then on to what we're doing next week. So anyway, crack on a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do now is a bit of a distorted image, but we know where we are. And we're looking at that's the road, and just above that there's the runway, right? And to get to this site, as you know, you've got to drive across the runway as planes are landing. Don't do it. We were told there's sometimes somebody waiting to stop people driving across the runway, but not always. And people are expected to know that the planes are going to land at a certain time. And there was an occasion where a vehicle ploughed into a plane as it was landing. Not a good idea, right? To get to this site, don't risk your life to see the archaeology. Get things right. So this is the bit of the structure that we're going to look at now. This area we've already had a little bit of look at the Broch. So let's just move on. So this area here, structure 8, structure 12, is what we're going to look at next as part of the blue area phase 5. Remember phase 5, we got the dating stuff at the end because we got the radiocarbon dates. So let's go on this little journey, and we will see where we're at. Structure 12, structure 8. Oh, one thing you can see about structure I'll get rid of that. One thing you can clearly see about structure 12 is that the access structure 12 via here, and then you get to this other building via here. Before building 8 was constructed, all part of the same phase, by the way, before structure 8 was constructed, you could get access into this area from here, right? Or from here. Right. And you can get access to it from here. Now, one of the things I've been thinking about this site is that if we go back to a better illustration than that, when we look at this, all the buildings seem to be jumbled in amongst each other, and these buildings really don't need the walls that are required to build the Broch, right? They don't need the cavity, in other words, because these buildings, because the Broch is built first, they've got a cavity, internal wall, space, external wall, right? But then they're adding buildings to it, buildings outside. So they're all tight knit, right? Now, with these buildings being very tight knit, let's presume that these buildings are always dark inside. There's no light. And then we had a bit of a row last night. Well, I didn't. I just let people row. And then somebody said, "Well, Karl, these buildings themselves, how are you really able to do anything in these buildings when there's very little light going in them, right?" And then I basically said, "Well, if you remove a part of the roof," and then I realized what I was saying. There are examples of buildings on the planet that you can actually remove part of the roof, and then when it rains, you can put the bit of the roof back on. And I basically said, that's what we do with a convertible in Britain. You drive along, it rains, you got the roof up. You drive along in the sun, you got the roof down, right? And maybe there was the facility to be able to do that with these types of buildings, right? I know, for example, if I had a bit of roof that I could take on and off with the building that I'm in, it just wouldn't work. But this is built using double glazed windows and different type of flooring than these buildings, right? And you might have that concept. Anyway, leave that there. Let's carry on. So let's move away from the book and structure 12. There it is. There it is, the blue area. And again, what we need to do, oh, that's the right orientation. Yes, it is. And there's a bit, the writing's there. So near vertical view of the two buildings on the left. So obviously, this is our building there, 12. This is our building number 8. And so again, what we've got is something really, really interesting going on. And actually, if you want to, these build, hang on, not that there. Those buildings down there where their linear walls are actually built later, naturally. So buildings on top of buildings, and people have been living at this site for if we get the right, people have been living within this vicinity at this site for 6,000 years, right? Now, there is a really, really interesting, important point, right? I went off in a little bit of a fantasy, and I told you if you moved a bit of the roof and whatever. So, and then we look at this building, and we then realize that from. Why don't I just give you the radiocarbon dates now? Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Let's give you the radiocarbon dates. The radiocarbon dates. Hang on a minute. I did have the radiocarbon dates. Hang on a minute. Hang on. I got the radiocarbon dates here. Maybe I want to do them first. I'll have to do them. Hang on, but the radiocarbon dates are in my lecture, so I'm gonna have to stop looking at the book. So if we go out, I want to show you the radiocarbon dates because there's a point to be made. Building 12, right? Building 12. Now, a very powerful point to be made here, which will addle your mind. Structure 12 there on the left. These are all the radiocarbon dates. Go over there. Now, if you look, for example, hang on, get that off there. If we go get rid of that. Let's do it red. That'll be better. Good. Red. So what we've got, if you look, for example, these are all radiocarbon dates. And this means that they're calibrated, meaning that they're 95% accurate, right? Now, these are all radiocarbon dates for this building, right? So if you go the earliest possible date that people were living within this building and associated with this building is down there, right? And you're thinking, right, is that earlier evidence that's contaminating the later evidence? Okay, let's take that away. So the mean average of dates is roughly somewhere in the region of the 200 years BC. There we go. And actually, they are earlier, right? But the 200 BC. So say people have been living here, the proper evidence of people living in this building for building 12 for. They've been living here from 200 years BC at least, and people are still possibly living there all the way into the AD 100s. So quick mathematics. Okay, we can even go further, the AD 200s, and maybe we go a little bit further and we look at the AD 240. But what is fascinating with this is my following point, which I need to make and share with you, right? And the following point is this. Let's get away from this. Let's get back onto that plan, right? And my little cat is sat on my legs now. If this was a very dark place and it was a very horrible place to live, right? Why is it people lived within this building for 300 years? And there is actually a point to be made there. And the point to be made there is as follows. Again, people are living within this building for at least 300 years, 350, 400, whatever, at least 300. That's what the radiocarbon date, the activity, that's what tells us. Don't get that many radiocarbon dates for a building, but we've got over 10, right? So there you go. Compare this with Skara Brae. Pat, you've been to Skara Brae, haven't you? Loved it. Skara Brae is a beautiful site, and it was abandoned and nobody ever lived there again, right? But this site, and that was 5,500 years BC. Not BC, 5,500 years ago, 3,500 years BC. That was Skara Brae. Nobody lived there again. It was abandoned forever. But end of, right? But people continue to live within this building for at least 300 years. So the building, there must be something about the building that meant people wanted to live here. They really loved this building, right? And what I'm trying to say is, no matter what archaeologists tell you, or historians or living history people said, it was a hard life, it was really difficult to live in these buildings, it was dark. The evidence tells you in this building, they lived here for over 300 years. So there's something that we are missing in the archaeology, something that we're not understanding in the archaeology, right? I'm painting a dark picture of a building, right? But people love this building. We'll talk a little bit more about that aspect in a more complex way tomorrow. But what we need to do to understand this is to orientate this image a little bit more, which I didn't do last night, which I should have done. Let's go. Come on. Yeah, we go and we go that and we do that. Good. Save. What's of massive interest for me is that you're entering this building in the dark, right? Access analysis head, James. That's what your degree's in. And so what we've got, they would enter this building from here, and they're entering into an area that's walled into a cell, right? And then they're going into this building, right? So they're coming from the dark into an area that's dark, or we're misreading it. I think we are, right? There's something really odd going on here. Studying this building, being there, looking at it, and there's more to be said. There was the original entrance. It's blocked up. It's clearly blocked up. And then the later phase is as you've got this structure, you're able to go in like this, and this is actually blocked up. So again, thinking about the narrative, understanding this building, seeing how it gels, seeing how it flows, it is really, really interesting. And it's a building 12, and it's sort of, it would have been a warm building, put it this way. It would have been a cold building at all. It was towered over by the brook. There was buildings around it. It was a building that people lived in. Now, last night I said that it may have been very smoky inside, but then again, if you're able to control your smoke, it's not going to be smoky inside. In fact, it's going to be warm all year round. And they must have loved this building. Karl, stop it. They were there for over 300 years. So they loved it. They had a huge connection with this building. It was home to them. And when you think of something like Skara Brae, that's the point I made last night. When you think about Skara Brae on Orkney, you think Skara Brae had everything. It had a sewage system, right? Which it was far superior to our modern day sewage systems. And I'll tell you why in a moment. Far more superior than our Victorian out-of-date sewage systems and how we deal with our human waste. Far more superior to that. It had little streets that were closed in, leading to other buildings. It was all roofed. They had fires. They had storage containers for fresh food. They had the stone dressers. They had everything going on. And also, they had a membrane of blue marine clay that stopped the damp coming into the buildings. All of this at Skara Brae. But they abandoned the bloody buildings. They never ever lived there again. So even though they had everything at Skara Brae, this building was far more superior than what they had at Skara Brae. And I find that very, very difficult to deal with. I find that very, very difficult to understand and to focus on, because there's everything that we know is either wrong or our interpretations are not flowing right. So when you go to somewhere like Peter Reynolds, he's sadly no longer with us, but when we go to Peter Reynolds' Butser project in southern England, right? There's reconstructed buildings there, and I'm just gonna speak out of tone. Do they get very smoky? Um, do the heating systems in these buildings in Butser work? I don't know. But usually when you go to somewhere like, say, Fagans, right? It's like you go into these buildings, there's smoke everywhere, everybody's coughing out their lungs, there's an entrance in and there's an entrance out. Well, that doesn't work. And there's a tall entrance, and all these different things. And you start to think, well, there are things that we're not really understanding or flowing with. And the gay abandon of archaeology is not speaking volumes where it should do. Now, within this building, it's got piers. And these piers themselves would have not been adjoined to the wall, but later on, this one in particular was actually filled in, right? So it was actually a cellular type structure. It was actually dragged into the wall, right? And this is something again that we'll be looking at next week. A little bit more about that next week. So this is all made of dry stone. Oh, and I forgot to say that this is a dry stone structure. This is like the Brock. It's a dry stone structure. Dressed stone on the outside, core, dressed stone on the inside. Now, this is when we think about this and we look closer and we look at that stone there. You have stones that are on the horizontal. You have stones on the vertical, like this one, which is really odd. When you go to the likes of Rusey, the island of Rusey, and we look at Mid Howe, Julie Gibson and Pat was sat there with her coffee, right, with me. Julie Gibson would say, look, usually with buildings in Orkney, the Brocks in Orkney, they would put the stones on end like that, on the vertical, in later periods, but they're not doing it with this one. They're doing it in early periods. And what you've got an array of different architecture in these buildings, and it would have been a beaten clay flooring areas, and in the building 8, which is alongside it on the right there, that would have been that would have been a stone floor. So they had heavy stone floors, and they had floors that were beaten. Right now, what we've got here, we're going to look at this thing here. Now, what is this? What's going on here? Right now, we had a bit of a conversation last night with the next image, right? We looked at this, and the closer view, this is a cellular building, and as we said, it's that one there on the right there. There it is, a bit of a closer view, and they found that there was a midden, a rubbish tip inside the house, and then as they excavated this rubbish tip, what they found was cattle bones. There you go. You can find the cattle bones there. And as they're excavating, you got the cattle bones there. I then jumped in with 2 legs, and I basically jumped in and I said, look, folks, wouldn't the bones, as there's bits of flesh on them and so on, wouldn't they attract flies, and wouldn't the buildings start to smell? And then I stopped, and then somebody jumped in and they said, well, actually, breaking down material creates its own heat, right? And that was a good point, right? That was quite an interesting point, that. And if every time you put material there, you'd put some earth or something on top of it, like an earth closet or something like that, I'm not saying this is an earth closet; it's clearly a midden, but but I just thought that there's a really nice aspect that you have the rubbish inside the buildings in one area, and obviously it's rotting down. And I thought there was just like a nice little subtle thing to think about and try to understand. Now, also the other thing, as they were excavating this, directly on top of it was this, right? And they actually found they before they got to that, they actually found directly on top of it the evidence of an oven. So it is something that they had multiple uses for and different changes of use over time in the archaeology. Now, I thought this was absolutely fascinating, right? And the reason why I felt this was absolutely fascinating was that this is a little bit further on from the little a thing that we saw then. Hang on, I'll get it on the plan now, hang on, so we know where we're at as we go along the wheel. Oh, there we go. One, two, three. I think we're roughly. I think we're. I'm not really sure, but I think we're roughly. No, not there. We're roughly around there. Right, and what we've got now is if we go back, we go directly to this image, and what you can see behind the red pole, we can't really see it, not much detail. But what there is actually evidence of rendering, right? There's render on the inside of these. Now that's really important. You can see bits of render there. You can actually see it when they're building these structures. They're building them dry stone, and as it's being built, and then you'd render on the inside. Like you wouldn't render on the outside, but you really wouldn't need to render on the outside because it'd be somebody else's house anyway, or going into another building and so on. When you think about a Brock, for example, the 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 Brock external wall, and then you've got the cavity, the gallery, and the steps, and you've got the internal wall. Then you might render the internal wall of the Brock. Would damp get through? No, it wouldn't, because it has to dampness and wind would have to deal with the external wall, and then they would have the gallery and cellular area, and then if any wind does get through, it's going to be buffeted by the likes of a render on the inside of the Brock. This itself has got no such luxury. It's got no cavity on the outside because there's loads of buildings tight knit. So if any wind or damp does get in, it's because the building alongside isn't well built. Now, I thought this was an interesting little one. And when I was actually doing my research for this little thing here in our building 12, I go out again to show you where we are. What we've just seen is a little doorway. And where that little doorway is, it's actually, hang on, not there. There's a little doorway there. So as you come into the building here, you've got a cell and you've got a way out there. And we had a discussion about this. What happened? That doorway was placed in later, right? A little bit of a conversion job. And what's happening? Get rid of that. What's happening is that's blocked in there, and that's blocked in there, so that this area here and this area here isn't affected by any opening of the door, any entrance there. So it sort of allows the building to work with this extra entranceway. And as you go there, and you move to, hang on, get through all of these. There she is, a little doorway. So obviously constant changes with this building. So again, this is the exception to the rule. When you look at Bronze Age or Iron building, it's usually right. That's it. Right, next, let's go on to something else. There's a doorway, and that's it. But this is like all the other different wheelhouses. and structures from this Iron Age, there are different changes being exacted onto this building over time. Now you can see this with the stone archaeology, but if this was the likes of wattle and daub archaeology and that type of thing, we might not be able to exact the changes that you're actually seeing in stone. So again, that's another way of relooking at this wonderful level of archaeology and its interpretation. So again, thinking about how this all worked, and next, what we do think about, we haven't looked at that blocking in a moment, which look on a blocking over on the right hand side, which leads into building 8. But what we've got is all that staining there. You can see it's slightly different. The fireplace has migrated from here over into this area, right? Which again, it's almost as if they were, over time, they were altering where things were in this building, so it worked. And interesting enough, as you're coming into this building, get rid of that. As you're coming into this building, it's almost as if the fire used to be over here. You're now coming in, and you're almost stepping in the fire. So you've probably got to go rapido in a different direction. And there's this idea of access analysis, where you should go in a building and where you should walk in. And this is what's going on. You would need to have a quick response to knowing where the fire was when you entered the building. It's quite likely that to avoid confusion, everyone went in a clockwise manner. You could go in an anti-clockwise manner, but you probably went in a clockwise manner. But that's not for me to say. And this is that fire in the middle. So you can actually see a lot of burning, a lot of burnt evidence. And what we've got is hearths and different hearths within this area, created again over that time span of 300 years. What work they didn't change. Now, if you think, say, an average generation is about 30 years, 40 years, and it's 300 years, then that's 10 generations at least lived in this building. And then when they started to abandon this building, they lived in the other buildings nearby. They loved this spot. It was, obviously they didn't have any more floods because this site would have been abandoned long since before. Again, that cellular-like building, and what you can clearly see there is this idea of change again, where that is blocked there, right? It's clearly blocked, and this would have been a stand-to pillar, and that's been blocked there as well. These would have been stand-to pillars, but now they've blocked in these areas, like the one that they've blocked over there, and it's all to do with airflow. It's all to do with the activities of this building on how it all acted and activated the senses and our deep understanding of this function of this one single site. And this is just one site. This is just one building, and this one publication that we're looking at, Scatness, is that this book is 550 pages long, and this is just one building. How complex the archaeology is. What I'm thinking of doing, right, is yeah, I think I can come back in refreshed with this. What we've got after the break, we've got that there, and we've got the tables, some of the artifacts, and we've got this stuff in Ireland. So I think maybe that would be a good place to stop at that slide, actually, and then come back refreshed after the break. So, okay, and my cat has been wanting me to feed him, and I'm sure he dribbled on me earlier on. Right, okay, so let's just see if there's any questions, and it's 8:47. Right, so good of you to join us, Pat. Hang on a minute. Where's Anne gone?
I don't know, she disappeared.
Kate and Anne disappeared as soon as Pat turned up. I don't know why that is.
No, it's cool.
She's cast a spell on him, I think. Hope you're okay, Pat. And how is your eyes?
Oh, hey, I see much better. Woohoo! I got a magic bionic lens instead of my old foggy one. So,
So can we call you Bionic Woman now?
yeah, it's just one eye. It's quite good though. And
Yeah,
my
well,
other eye, everything looks muddy or yellow. So, it's really good. I got rid of that cataract.
good. So basically, we can call you Hawkeye Pat.
Yeah,
Richard used to have one of them in the 60s.
probably.
I don't know when I
Sorry,
come
I
out,
was
Richard.
late. We had all sorts of things going on. So anyhow, I got
Well,
here.
at least you joined us. We had Kate on earlier on, and we had I think she went off and came back on. We had Anne on. I don't know what's happened to Anne.
Yeah, we get
So
tired. Yeah.
I don't know. Right, so it's 8:48. So we're going to see if there's any questions on any of this, and then we'll probably, because there's less of us now, I think we might have a 10-minute break. It'll give me enough time to get the kettle on, have a drink, and feed the cat. So anything from you, Pat?
Where are we? I mean, I came in and I'm at the location, but I don't know where the location is.
Right, okay then, Pat. What we'll do, we'll just put the screen back on and we'll show you.
In
We're
Scotland?
we're in a place known as we're on the peninsula, the lower peninsula of the Shetlands. So
Oh, the
it's
Shetlands,
the
right?
lowest part of the Shetland. Yeah, there it is. And basically just above that is the airport. And
Right.
it's the only airport I've ever been to where you can actually drive cars along the runway as planes are landing.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this little anecdotal story. After we'd landed, and then basically they told us when we were up in the air and they were trying to work out the emergency procedure, and they were going to ditch the plane into the sea just off the runway, right? With us in it,
Huh?
naturally. They couldn't. They had they had trouble cranking the landing gear. Can you imagine? There's a guy. I don't know how many 1,000 feet up, but there's a guy cranking because it's really odd, and then it's turning out that we're running out of fuel, right?
Oh, God.
So and the turbulence on the plane is horrific. So it's like everything's not right. And then when we landed, we were then told that a few years earlier something similar had happened, and the plane missed the runway and ended up in the sea, right?
God.
And only a few months earlier on, the mail plane also missed the runway and ended in the sea as well. So
No,
yeah.
you're putting me off the Shetlands.
Oh no! What you need to go there is go on a boat. Just do the boat. Yeah, do the boat journey. I think it's like an hour and no, it's not. It's not an hour and something. It's a few hours actually. Yeah, but yeah, do the boat.
Okay, will do.
Oh, and I tell you what, that you never did a ferry. You did the tiny ferries, but you didn't do the big ferry, did you?
No.
And yeah, we did the big ferry on the other trip, I think. But we've done 3 organized trips to Orkney. And we on the third one we did the ferry. That was good. Pete actually bought me some chips. Right, okay. If there's nothing else, Pat, I'll go on to Goff.
I do, you know, has it got a roof, this building, at the moment?
No, but no, it's a shame really. But they've done a reconstruction there. And I was actually asked, can we see the reconstruction next week? And we will.
Okay, because you're on about the lights and the roof,
Yeah.
the removable roof.
Yeah.
Oh, right, hang on a minute. Goff, I've misinterpreted what you said. I really misinterpreted what you said. Yeah, I thought you meant now. Right, yes.
No, yeah,
Yes.
now, so is there a roof now?
Oh, there's not a roof now. I thought you meant.
We don't
right.
know. We don't know what sort of roof it had.
No, we don't. We don't.
So it could have had a half a roof, and half of it could be covered over.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
okay.
Yeah.
We're speculating that it was completely dark. We don't really know that, do we?
We don't really know that. And the thing is, Goff, the thing is, if you're if you've got a building that's completely dark off, you've got to use a hell of a lot of fuels to light it,
Absolutely.
right? You know what you know what your electricity bills are like in the winter months. It's like double what it is in the summer, because you've got to have your if you're working in the home and it's wet outside, you've got to have your light on 24/7, right? They had the same problems, right? And it would have used a lot of fuel. So you would think that if it's not raining, right, why do we, in the daytime when we want to work inside, right? This is the thing. These are the questions. We know they worked inside because they got hearths. There's activity evidence going on inside. We got all that evidence. We know they worked inside. They just didn't sleep there. Put it this way. And they had the building next door, which is building 8, which was an industrial building. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Good. I did. You did ask a question. Yeah. Sorry, I went off on one. Right. Okay. And finally, Richard, we'll have a little break now. Anything you want to say?
No, nothing really interesting.
Right, okay then. It's 8:53 now. We're gonna have a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 3 minutes. So, Pat, stop the clock. You've got 10 minutes to have a drink, and so have I. I'll be back. Richard, tell everyone about the.
It's not. I can't get my. I'm gonna have to. Hmm. Oh, are you there? Oh. Hmm.
We're just having a bit of a break, Anne. Where have you been, you old cracket?
I don't know.
Where? We're halfway there.
I'm gonna have to watch.
Oh,
I'm
oh,
gonna have to watch you on my video thing. Rewatch
yeah,
it.
well, you've ruined our lives, Anne.
I'm sorry, I had a very
Yeah,
important phone call.
yeah, well, it's not as important as my classes, you know what I mean?
Well, I can catch up, but I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, make sure you do, Anne.
I
Make sure
don't
you
get
do.
many phone calls, put it that way.
Goff gets phone calls all the time. He's got a stable of women that contact him on a regular basis.
Isn't that all heavy breathing when I get them? I keep thinking it's you, Carl, phoning me up.
It probably is.
It probably is. No. What I do, I have it on speed dial, so I do heavy breathing on loads of people.
Jim.
Oh God, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I tried to do it on Liz the other week.
He's closed now. This
What?
week. Retired.
Hang on a minute. No, we can't even start. I want to know more about this. What do you mean? Tell me more. Are you serious?
Retired. And he sold the business. Sold the building
So
to
what?
Mr.
Go on.
Harris Pye.
So what about all his staff?
Three of the lads have gone to Owens, which is another garage.
Yeah.
Retired. And Alan's retired. Sold the building.
I'm struggling with this. This is for real, is it?
Oh yeah, this week. This week. Yeah.
Okay. How old was Alan?
He's 69.
And how old was Liz?
Oh, Liz is in her 60s, yeah. Yeah. I don't know how old.
Are you shocked yourself? You would have known years ago.
I knew he had they were up for sale for about 18 months. And do you know the engineering company Harris Pine?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, him. David, Mr. David, his name is. Yeah.
So he actually owned it then, did he, the building?
No, he's bought it off Alan.
No, what I mean, Alan actually owned the building.
Yes. And the business.
Yeah. Did he right? Oh, did he get the price that he wanted for it?
Yes.
And the last question is, he sold the business, so it's going to continue
he offered the business, the clients and to the staff,
right?
To fitters, and they couldn't handle it. They didn't want to do it. So he's just folded the business. All his clients have gone elsewhere, and he sold all the ramps and everything else sold to Owens, which is a company on Llandau as well, and Pope's another one in Llandau. Yeah. We've been in business for 45 years.
Well, now see this here.
Hang on a minute, Anne. I haven't finished. Well, give Alan my love then.
I know. We often talk about you because I think you still owe him some money, but
you no. Hey, there's one thing about it. There's one thing about Alan. You didn't leave that building without paying. You know that.
You're absolutely right there. Yeah. Yes.
Right. Anyway, I'm I'll offer him my best in his retirement. Yeah, please do.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Is Pat with us?
Yes.
Hang on a minute, Anne. You can talk now. Tell us what you wanted to tell us.
Oh, can you see that?
Yeah, sure.
No, go on, lift it up.
Where is it? Where am I?
That's
I
good.
don't know where I am.
You're on the sea.
I was just going to show it. It says it's from Stockholm.
Oh.
It's a Swedish squadron in Öresund in 1812. And it's from Stockholm Museum.
Oh.
Next week, I'm going to show you a naked photograph of myself comparing me with David, and I'm wondering if you're going to be interested.
We'll see it.
Carl?
Yeah.
You didn't mention my the article I sent you about the world's oldest cheese.
Oh my God, I was really into that as well. Hang on a minute. We got to Gough. I don't know. Right, okay, then here we go. I read this. It was here we go. It was the world's oldest cheese sheds light on ancient Chinese culture. What genetic analysis of a 3,500-year-old sour goat's cheese from Yijiang reveals? For more than 3,500 years, the mummified remains of Yiho people lay undisturbed in a desert cemetery in Yijiang in Western China. And the work's been going on since 1974, and a massive piece of goat's cheese.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
this lady who sent me this card, it works in a Stockholm museum. Yeah, maritime museum. But not the one where that big ship is.
No, and it's got what?
The one that Pat went to see.
Yeah, but it's got nothing to do with the change.
What are you talking about?
Oh,
Dear.
Right, and also finally, just mention this. I'm going to lose the will to live in a minute. I want to finish tonight. I want to do my last bit. I'm going to have to get on with my last bit. But finally, sand dunes give up secrets of lost wartime, and this is in the Morpeth Gunnery Range in the Harlack Forest, the coast of northwest Wales.
We did that last week, Cal.
Did I?
Oh,
Right, I'm glad I did because I'm losing a plot. Right, Anne, don't say any more, Anne. Right, I have nearly lost it then. Right, right, okay. I gotta be honest with you. Right, Anne would have been absolutely perfect. Anne would have been absolutely perfect in the Lansford Major class with Jim. And you would have felt so superior in that class, knowing that there was somebody in the world who was a complete and utter a-hole, right? And you would have been mastery over him. Anyway,
yeah.
and we do
Yeah.
love you, all of us. We do love
I
you.
know.
You know, we
I
do,
know.
we do. Right. So what I wanted to do, this point I wanted to make about there we go. What we've got. Oh, let me get back to where we were. Leading into this building, right? There was an entranceway which was open. However, the entranceway alongside it, which is actually indicated there, was blocked up. And this is actually quite fascinating from an archaeological point of view, and actually lots of points of view, because that there, where the red and the black and white bars are, that actually leads into an old corridor or like an old little street, which is blocked up. And it's like, again, it's that sense of the Iron Age. It's ever changing, it's ever changing, it's ever moving, it's ever evolving. And this is what we can see with this absolutely amazing, fascinating site, that we can see these changes. And obviously on the right there, it goes nicely into building number 8, which was actually built after building number 12. And the point that we made earlier on, if you're going to build another building, which is going to be darker, which is going to cause darkness into the building that you've just left, number 12, it does actually say that conversation that we've had, that they must have had other ways of lighting these buildings, i.e. they must have had bits of the roof that they must have just been able to take away. Because I tell you what, if you've got a dark space and you've just got one area that you're able to take away, light floods in, and that's the whole point. And again, if you can't live in the darkness of a building like this for generation after generation for 300 years, and it being incredibly dark. Now, one thing I wanted to look at was that next week we look a little bit more at access analysis. And one thing about this building, number 8, is that it's an industrial building. And what is fascinating with this building, it's not built as well as the one we've just seen, building number 12. And what there's actually an underground flue, right? That's an underground flue. And it's absolutely fascinating that you've got industrial processes going on within this building. And back to the point that we made yesterday, you're not going to be in a really good state if you don't have much light and you don't have much oxygen and you don't have much air. There must have been equal flowing air into this building for this to actually function. They had more than one area that they used as a hearth and an oven, and the industrial areas were destined to this landscape here. Now, can I just interrupt myself a minute? I've got the cat jumping everywhere. He's on the ceiling at this minute, so I've just got to let him out. Marley, can you just go outside, please? Go on, Marley, out. Get out of here. Loving such strange black and white cat. Right, so this is an absolutely fascinating building, and I really put more sort of in the sense of access analysis and understanding this building next week. Now, when we think about this is actually that building there, and and thinking about that building, what we have with that building, we've got lots of pottery evidence in there as well. There's lots of bits of broken pottery, and so on in it, and it's a really, really strange shaped building indeed. And if we go to the next image, you can tell it's a really strange shaped building. It's not round, it's not rectangular, it's sort of trapezoidal, right? They've just chucked it on. And what's going on, as I said, the area here, they've got lots of evidence of burning, lots of evidence of activity, probably smelting, probably lots of manufacturing. And again, you would think that there would be light coming into this bit of the building. You would need airflow. And back to that point that we mentioned earlier on, and Goff saying, we don't really know how this was roofed, how it really worked. Well, they would have definitely needed shelter when it's raining quite heavily, as it would do on Orkney and Shetland. Not to the same degree that it does today, but it would have been quite howling at times. And so if you've got bits of the roof that you can actually take off and move back on, then that might actually make sense. I've got that sense, and I feel I know about that piece of the archaeology and history from other buildings around the world. And whether it worked here, I don't really know. So I'm very, very aware of time now, and what I wanted to do was enter a little bit about Ireland into this today. And then come back to this next week, and just oh yeah, we've got to do the date stuff. There we go. And this is what. Oh yeah, there's other things that I haven't done. So within this building that we've got building 8, and what I want to do is to give you some dates with it as well. This being added on to building number 12. Naturally, all those indicate bits of pottery that are actually being found scattered across the site. And one hugely interesting thing. As they're excavating this site, they've come across bits of pottery that bits of pot that are relatively intact, right? And obviously, if we got a little bit of time next week, I can go through more of these illustrations. But there's a lot to do with this site indeed. But what they've got is that there is sherds representing an almost complete vessel. So this would have been a complete circular vessel at one time. It's just placed there, so you can actually see all the fragments. So there's whole pots they've actually found fragments within this building number 8. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to go to the chart, and it gives you 3 radiocarbon dates for this building, right? And what you can clearly see is the possible earliest date for this building. In the date range, and what they've got, the material that they've got, the radiocarbon dates is charred barley, right? They've got the from charred barley, the radiocarbon dates from charred barley. If we sort of circle that, we'll have a look at the other one again when we look at building, when we pass the slide for building 12. We'll have a little look at that. But the dates for this, some more calibrated, more firm dates for that building number 8. So if we go to here, these are the dates that we're looking at, and it's sort of in use in roughly about, if you take a mean average there, somewhere around 150 years BC into the 100 years AD 100. So in other words, it's built 100 years into the time frame that the building number 12 is actually constructed in, 100 years after. And it was probably used for the length of time, probably under 50 years that the other building was still being used for. So this bit of the building was abandoned around the time that building number 12 was still operational. And again, looking at the evidence from this site, and if we look at the previous chart, the evidence that they also used for number 12, building number 12, is also evidence of charred barley. And again, remains of barley being found in building 12 and this building 8. Now, a little bit about the pottery that they're actually finding is that you can actually see the rim of the pot. Another word for us is diagnostic pottery. Diagnostic pottery means that you've got rim and you've got an idea of the structure of the pot, giving you what's here, which are sections of pot I actually used to be able to draw like this. I can't draw like this anymore. I don't know why. But this is known as diagnostic pottery, typical forms from the Iron Age. And if you look over here, hang on, lots of this is going to be handmade pottery. But if I found something like that with a profile like that from a Roman site, right, I might think that was Roman period pottery. But this is Iron Age period pottery in an Iron Age culture, made by hand, and it basically tells me that what works in one culture with not too much of a rim that's overpowering, the too over inflared, which is too sort of what I mean. If the rim went like this, right, it's going to be no good for pouring and storing too much. That's probably the most acute. But these were used for storage, and obviously you've got the sense of cooking vessels associated with these as well. And again, these bits of fragments, incised pottery, a little bit of decoration towards the top of the pot and the rim itself. And again, what you've got is fragments again of pottery that they're using. What they're using is they're using stamps, or they're using wooden combs to actually give you this sort of stylistic sense on the pot itself. So some of this was actually quite decorated and burnished. What they would do, the outside of the pot, they would polish it, they would burnish, they would polish it, like almost as if you've got a Aladdin's lamp where you're polishing it, get really polished. That's called burnishing the bottom bit there, where it is actually burnished. So if we move on a little bit more, and you get an idea of more of these forms, these diagnostic forms of pottery, this is spread over the site now, not just from building 8 and building 12, spread across the site. And obviously they're getting an idea of, from the pottery, again, it gives you an idea, other than a radiocarbon dating, when people are there, obviously in the Iron Age in this regard. So what we're going to do now, we'll do more about Scatness next week, and unfortunately we're only just touching on the top of where we'll be touching on the top of Scatness obviously next week as well. But another thing that we will be doing next week, and I'm going to remind myself what we will be doing next week, is more of these sites in Ireland, and I've got to be reminding myself. Yeah, we'll be looking at more of these stone hill forts in Ireland. Now, this is an absolutely fascinating one. There's the name of it on there. And if I can get onto my notes now. And the only reason why Anne comes to these classes is I deliberately mention Ireland every week to keep her interested. There you go, Anne. See, I know how you work. I get into your soul.
Yeah.
So, I know I've known you just a couple of years, Anne, right? And you're only 60 now, right? But, this will live with you, the archaeology and the history of this stuff forever, and it's definitely Ireland. This site, pronounced, is known as Dun Engus. Engus. Yeah. There's the anglicised version, Dun Engus, which the Gaelic version would be Dun a Gosha. They're both probably completely wrong, but where it is, you can actually see on the map there, the beautiful walls there, and the walls themselves, chunky walls standing up there. They're 4 meters thick, near the cliff edge now, but they wouldn't have been near the cliff edge in the past. And it's obviously there on the Isle of Arran, the Arran Islands, off the county of Galloway. And there you go. Looking down, that looks quite frightening. That itself, the cliff itself, is 100-meter drop. Now, Pat, when you do go to this site, right, don't go near the edge. Promise me. Thank you very much, Pat. In joke there. This is built on a limestone base, obviously a limestone building using a local limestone. This site is initially constructed in the Bronze Age, goes into the Iron Age. Obviously, it's more of a fortified site into the early medieval period and the medieval period as well. You can actually just see that there's a main building in the center, right, and you've got these other walls of structures around as well. It is not known when this site was really built, but at least going back into the Bronze Age, at least 1,100 years BC. So I've obviously developed the main walls that you can see, the circular walls there, that big circular set of walls there, is likely to have been constructed by at least 500 years BC, before the birth of Christ. And what you've got the central circle there, and you do have another set of walls there, and you've got another set of walls there for a much bigger community. And it's an absolutely fascinating site, this, a hugely fascinating site. It really, really is. An excavation of the site indicates again that we do go back at least 1,100 years, and they've only excavated bits of the site. The fort means the fort of Agos. It may refer to a pre-Christian god of the same name, or somebody mentioned in Irish mythology. Agos Mac Omahor. My Gaelic is just not there. I really don't know what I'm saying, but
am I presuming
quickly.
Am I presuming this was a full circle and it's eroded away?
And if you'd wait a minute, I was going to come on to that now. The fort consists of a series of 4 concentric walls of dry stone construction, built on a high cliff some 100 meters above the sea. Basically, it's a load of walls that have been compacted together, and these are actually 4 meters wide. The main thing there, what they've done, it's a load of walls composed together, 4 meters wide at least. Obviously, really chunky things indeed. Now today, it's showing as high above 100-meter drop to the sea. At the time of the construction, sea levels were considerably lower, and a recent documentary on Irish television tells us that it may have been up to 100 meters from the sea back then, 1 mile away from the sea. Surviving stonework, as you can see, it doesn't exactly say how tall this is, but I can exact that it's at least 6 meters tall. And the original shape may have actually been an oval rather than the D shape it is today, because it's likely that big chunks of the cliff have collapsed. In fact, all the ones that we look at of these sites, usually inland and maybe some of them along the coast, were actually circular. They were circular sites. So it might be that big chunks of this has been eroded away. Maybe it may have been slightly D-shaped, but we don't really know. Big chunks of it have been eroded away. And now, hang on a minute. These ruins, I'm coming to the end now. These ruins also feature a sort of a flat base. So when you actually look there, there's very little archaeology inside. It's very, very flat inside. And I haven't got really much detail on the archaeological excavations, unfortunately, but you can actually get out to this site if you can get out to the Isle of Arran, at the Aran Islands. So again, there's other archaeology within this landscape, but this site itself, within the external wall, which is that wall that goes out there, the whole area is an area of 6 hectares, which is the area basically of the Millennium Stadium 6 times, or 14 acres in area. Massively important landscape. So what I want to do is share more of these sites with you next week, after what we've done with Scatness, to sort of bring that into it. And I've had just one last thing before we actually do close up tonight. I've actually had a message off our friend Henry, and he's basically sent me a link, and I'm going to say will mention now. He's actually sent me a link in regards to a question I sent him, right? And the question I sent to Henry was, I mentioned last week that we think that the Irish did produce some coins, but I actually haven't seen a photograph of them, right? And he sent me this. He said that you know, they not particularly to do with Ireland, but an Iron Age coins were found in Jersey, Iron Age coins, and 50,000 silver and bronze coins found in Jersey. And in this field in Jersey, they're saying that these metal detecting enthusiasts had occasionally found coins, but you know, they'd been metal detecting, but they'd be trying to find the coin order. And eventually, this is 12 years ago now, they actually found 50,000 silver and bronze coins in a field in Ireland. And it's basically saying that they'd searched quite a long time for it. But these unfortunately are not the Irish coins that I said may have been produced. But I thought I'd just mention that just to give you an idea that there's lots of coins out there, lots of Iron Age coins, and I would like to find those elusive Iron Age coins that may have actually been produced in Ireland. On that note, we're going to call it a day. Thanks for joining us tonight, and let's see if there's any questions. Do you know what I'm going to do for the for supper after this? I'm going to cut up some dried runner not dried. I'm going to cut up some fresh runner beans, right? I'm going to put them in a frying pan. I'm going to put loads of herbs and stuff. Put some garlic in there, and I'm going to put it in a sandwich. Sounds great. It does. I had it before. It was really nice. Right. Okay then. What's that?
It does sound nice, actually.
It was actually. It was really nice yesterday. It was so nice that I thought I'm not going to do another one for me because it might spoil the experience. So I'm just going to do another one today. But right, okay then. What we're going to do, Goff, to protect Goff, we're going to ask Anne if she's got any questions so she doesn't interrupt Goff when he's talking. Go on, Anne.
I was only going to say that my friend went to Arran. She went to the Isles of Arran and she saw some of this stuff.
Oh, fab.
This archaeology, and she said it was the most fantastic experience of her life. And she's been all over the place. She's been to, you know, all over Europe, India, Africa. No, she hasn't been to Africa. But yeah, she thought it was wonderful. But you know, it's very. There's not a lot of people there.
No, I think it'd be quite windswept. And is the Isle of Arran the one that was it Neil or Paul Young sings about in that mysterious song? Oh, anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's called the Arran Isles, not to be mistaken for Arran, the Isle of Arran, which is in Scotland, isn't it?
Oh, right. So there are two different. Ah, right.
I think
yeah,
so.
sorry.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Well,
But
yeah,
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and that's where they make the jumpers, I think.
I didn't know that. Yeah, okay. I thought
I
that
don't
was
know
odd.
which that, you know, but that's fascinating anyway. Thank you for. It just reminds me of the, you know, we've got a few Iron Age forts or Roman encampments. I don't know, Iron Age encampment on our coast, haven't we? That are kind of cut off
Iron Age on our coast, yeah.
halfway.
So we've got the Isle of Arran is an island off the west coast of Scotland. So there's the Arran Islands off the coast of Ireland, and we've got the Isle of Arran in Scotland. I'm glad we confirmed that because I was getting a bit confused there. Right, okay, then. Thank you, Anne.
Okay.
Anything else, Anne?
No, that's all. Thank you. I'll watch it all again and
good. Please
next
do.
week.
leave a comment. Right. And obviously, when we start our excavation thingamajig, which some of you have had the details of, we'll let you know what's going on with that as well. Anyway, Goff, anything you want to say?
No questions. It's very interesting. I look forward to next week. Thank you.
Good. 2 hours 38 minutes, and we did the other presentation as well before. Oh god. Right. So anything from you, Pat?
Oh, thank you. That was lovely. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you did, and I'm glad your eyes are getting there as well. And Dickie, have you got anything you want to say?
No, interesting.
Good. Well, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna
Going on
look.
holiday.
Or next week.
Good. I'm just gonna look online quickly to see if there's any comments online, and if not, we will call it a day. And there we go. Let's just have a quick look, and then I'm just gonna quick look. Anyone got anything they want to say? All right. Andy Pandy. Hi, Carl. Met at Tom Sean Catty Cave. We're still laughing about it now. Good to meet you and hope you're well, mate. It's
Aw.
amazing. And also,
Oh,
it's amazing, isn't it? I met somebody in the Tom Sean Catty Cave
yeah.
about a month ago, right? And I basically said that the word he needs to use in West Wales is tinyawn. And he said it, he's got it there, tinyawn. Brilliant. And we got a couple of people we've got a couple of people saying things online, so that's really nice. And I'm saying hiya, yeah, all. Right, so what we're gonna
Oh,
do, we're gonna call that a day. That's been a really good one, and Michelle said when she heard the lecture last night, she said it sounded really good. So I'm glad you thought as well tonight. So I really appreciate your time, your assistance, your support. I don't take it for granted. Goff, Richard,
Bye.
Anne, and Pat and Kate. I'll see you
Bye,
next week.
everyone.
Take care. Diolch yn fawr i chi. Nos da.
Okay, bye-bye.
So long.
night. Good
Nos
night.
da, guys.
Good
No,
night.
diolch yn fawr i chi. No.
Good
No.
night. Good
No.
night.
Anyway, thanks everybody watching on YouTube and Cryptid. I'm really pleased that you got on. Andy Pandy, really good to have you on, and hopefully Andy, you're subscribed. I know Cryptix is, and the Dodgy Git Show is subscribed. I would like to say that anyone who'd like to join, there's the join button online, and it's always good to have people to join, and I really appreciate everybody's support. I would like to say that heritage is very important, and we do try to keep history and archaeology alive as much as we can. And it's a losing battle at this minute. It really is, with so many museums and heritage places closing. But do you know what I'd like to mention? And again, Cryptid, I'm glad I put a message on today, and I'm glad that I'm glad that you subscribe. I would like to say Andy as well, and obviously we've got the Dodgy Git coming back each week as well. I'd like to say, Andy, that somebody said to me, and I don't know if you're still watching, but somebody said to me that what I need to do is I need to get out and I need to speak to people more. I've found that I've found it very difficult since we're going through the pandemic, and I'm still I'm still struggling with the pandemic thing, and I spent, I'm not a victim thing. I spent every single day teaching online to keep people interested and keep history and archaeology alive. And I just think I need to just bump into people a bit more in weird caves, as I did with Andy and his daughter, and I think his son as well. That was great. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything. I've got a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to say anything and they want to chat to me a moment, I'm here. And we do these classes every single Tuesday. Next week is going to be we usually start on a Tuesday about 7:40. Next week is going to be a bit stressful because I'm doing a bit of acting. I'm on set next week on Tuesday. But Wednesday I'm freer, and Wednesday we usually get online on Wednesday, usually by at least 7 o'clock, and we usually do some other stuff. And we usually do about 2 recordings. Actually, we do an early recording and a later recording, and I want to talk about Irish giants. Oh, go on, cryptids, go on, talk about ancient giants. Let's have a bit of ancient giants. Irish giants. I want to talk about Irish giants. Let's. I tell you what. Let's just. I'm not prepped for this. So what we're going to do We're gonna go online now. We're gonna share online. We're gonna see if we can go share the screen, right? And we're gonna go see what we can find on Irish Giants. I tell you what, thank you, Andy, for saying that. And it's so good to have everybody's support. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on here, and Andy, Cryptic has asked me to look at Irish Giants. So let's look at Irish Giants. What do we say about Irish Giants? What type of giants are these? Are they giants that are 7 foot? Giants Causeway. Yes, not forgetting the Giants. Irish Giants. Let's talk. Just quickly mention Irish Giants. I don't know how I got onto this. Oh my God, there's a few of them. So here we go. I got this thing on. I got this new AI thing. It's talking about Irish Giants. Thank you very much, Andy. You're very welcome to join us anytime. Yeah, everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please do. Again, join if you can. Join. Press the join button. It's only £1.99, or subscribe. Here we go. Irish folklore and history are full of references to giants. Now, here we go, Cryptic. We're going to screw this up. Finn Mac Cumel. Now, I don't know if that's right. It's probably completely wrong. The most famous Irish giant in folklore, Finn, was a warrior who is said to have built the Giant's Causeway in County Antrim. And obviously, is it because he's a giant in Scotland, isn't there? And the causeway goes over. Brian Boru, the legendary Irish king who died in 1014, is often claimed to have been a giant. Now, how tall was Brian Boru? Cryptic. Now, the thing is, if he was 7 foot tall and he was built like a brick house, yeah, definitely a giant. Tell you what, I'm 5'7", right? And anyone who's like 6 foot is tall. Anyone who's 6.5, that is tall. 7. Ooh, right. There's the Fomorians and Cryptic. We've got the Fomorians, a supernatural race of giants and sea raiders who were enemies of the Tuathail de Danann, Irish first settlers. The Fomorians were said to have come from under the earth, under the sea or the earth, and were capable of shapeshifting. The Irish giant who became a celebrity in London in 1782. His condition was caused by a pituitary tumor, and he died at the age of 22 in 1783. Now, how tall was Charles Burney? Charles Burney. I'm going to look that up in a minute. We're going to look at the heights of all these people now in a minute. Acromegaly, a condition that causes people to grow abnormally tall and can also lead to hormonal problems and infertility. It can be successfully treated with medication and brain surgery now today. I'm sure it can. Remember that guy off James Bond, Jaws? Don't know how tall he was. Let's look at Charles Burney, right? I reckon no more than 7 foot, right? Let's have a quick look at that one. Let's have a look at that geezer. He died at 22 because he didn't stop growing, or he was eating too much cabbages. How tall was this guy? Bloody tall. The Irish giant. Guess what, guys? Right, here we go. Charles Burney died in 1783. And in some accounts referred to him as being 8 foot tall. Others 8 foot 4 inches tall. But skeletal evidence places him at just over 7 foot 7 inches tall. And I got to be honest with you, that's bloody tall. And many Black Patches dog, right? I've appreciated your support, guys, always, right? I really appreciate everybody's support. And we offered those memberships the other week. And if anyone else what we've got a magazine that we send out on a regular basis, and it's for members of Archaeology Cymru, heritage organisation. There usually is a membership fee, but I've put the email down there, and if Andy or Cryptic or whoever was interested in becoming a member of Archaeology Cymru. We had we had 5 memberships that we were given away, and we had 2 left. So if anyone wants to be a member, you've got to email me, and you're a member for a year. And you get on board, and if you want to make any contributions throughout the year, then it's totally up to you. It's our way of saying thanks. It really, really is. So we've got 2. If you want to email me, you want to be a member, you get the magazine. You're very welcome. Anyway, back to this thing quickly. I'm gonna have to go in a minute, but you know, I'm loving this sort of interaction with you guys on the likes of. I'm reading this now, so I'm a bit sort of got my phone there. And so that's Charles Barney. And what we've then got is that we've got that other giant, haven't we? And you can see everything I'm looking up here. And so what's the other one that we were going to look at? The king, wasn't it? It was oh God, Irish giants, wasn't it? Irish giants. The other one, last one I was going to look at is this Brian Boru. Now I'll tell you what, if Charles had been 7'7", that was bloody tall, right? I gotta be honest with you. And if we look at Brian Boru, how tall was Brian Boru? Let's just give a guess. He was 7 foot tall. Brian Boru, this how tall was he? Is it going to say going on Wikipedia? Well, I'm just quickly reading through Brian Boru. How tall was he? He was mentioned the Orcadian saga. It did exist. It doesn't actually say. I can't go through all that. But Brian Boru, how tall was he? Was he just a natural king who was a giant? Kings would have to be tall. Definitely would be. Do you know what I find some days when you know I live in the countryside, and I live on a farm, and I got my animals and obviously the missus, and I just spend a lot of time here because there's a hell of a lot of work to do. You know, I've got a lot to do every day. Not just with the animals. I've got my, for example, I've got my, I've got the land to look after, the house. I've got my acting that I do. I've got the charity to run. You know, I've got the archaeological excavation reports. I've got these classes. Obviously the Woodland Trust and book writing and selling books and the column I do for the newspaper. I've got a lot going on. But again, I don't take people for granted who actually I do get in contact with online. And I really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate everybody's time and effort to support me. So if nobody else has got anything else to say, let's end tonight with we got 6 people online, which is good. Don't forget to like and subscribe again. Finally, if anyone wants to join, then please do so. And do you know, one thing we haven't done is we haven't done buy me a coffee for a while, right? So if anyone wants, there's like, if anyone, you know, lots of people who are sort of influencers online, you know, we say, you know, chuck us your money, but it's always like I said, buy me a coffee. I haven't had I've got my laptop is being repaired at this minute, so I think buy me a coffee, and I think you can do it at Carl J. Langford. I think that's right. Anyway, try that if anyone wants to do make a contribution or anything. And yeah, my computer will be back in the next few days. Do you know what? It's taken, yeah, my new computer or my replacement. It's taken a week to get here from London. Shocking. That's what I'll have next week. So I'll be able to react with people a little bit more on YouTube, and I'll be able to communicate a bit more. So that's good. So anyway, really appreciate everybody. I'm going to go now, and like and subscribe, and any support help. That's great. And see you next week, Tuesday, 7:40ish. That's when we get going, or Wednesday, which is roughly 7 o'clock-ish. If you want to sign in at 7:30, you get Scatness, and you'll get the Irish Hill Fort sites. Anyway, again, anyone who wants a membership, you've got you just got to email me there and send us your address, and that'll be the 2 people filled. Oh, one last thing. Oh God, I forgot this, guys. I forgot this. I need to tell you this. I didn't tell my own students this. I need to tell you this. Tomorrow is the death of King David ap Gruffydd. Now, King David ap Gruffydd was hung, drawn, and quartered at Shrewsbury. He was the last king of Wales, the last true blood king of Wales, right? He was hung, drawn, and quartered at Shrewsbury, right? And it's the anniversary of that, the 3rd of October, 3rd of October in the year 1283, right? And I'm going to have my flag there. I'll put a little video on YouTube and TikTok. Again, follow me here, and yeah, subscribe to me here, and you get that video tomorrow. Don't forget to press the bell. I'm going now. Don't forget tomorrow. And again, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr i chi. Gwelwch chi eto. Ymor o hyd, and I'm out of here. Thank you.